Hello, hello, yes. Welcome to the Google Podcasts Creator Showcase. We are so excited to have you. We have a really amazing show for you today. We have 6 amazing podcasts that you're going to hear from. It's very exciting, and they have been working very hard for the last 6 months, right? Yes, very hard for the last 6 months with a lot of feedback processes, I'm told. So this is very exciting. We are all going to celebrate. First, very quickly, just so you're not like, who is this strange person speaking to us? My name is Dylan Marin, and okay, yes. These are all paid applaud people. Yes, everyone's paid. I will pay you all. So you might have 2 questions. Who are you and why should I care? To answer the second part first, you don't have to care. That is a great thing about being an autonomous human. But I will tell you who I am and the kind of work I do so that you can decide if you do care. So I am, like these 6 amazing teams we're going to hear from today, I am a podcaster, and I make a podcast called Conversations with People Who Hate Me, which, yes, screams, which as one, no, it's, please, now I feel sad. I feel like I just asked for your applause. Which, as one Twitter user named Steve thinks, this Conversations with People Who Hate Me show is god-awful masturbatory shit. And so PRX and Google were like, Dylan Marin is the right person to host this podcast, Creator Showcase, and you're welcome. So let me just give you a kind of brief journey, a brief peek at my journey of how I got here and how I became, hello, there is a true 10-year-old boy waving at me outside the window, and God bless you. And now he and his friends just ran off because he was dared, and I bet he wasn't 10, but is now embarrassed. It's okay, we're all humans, and this is a glass venue. So, how I got here, this is the journey that I am on. I started with a video series called Every Single Word, which is a video series that edited down popular movies to only the words spoken by people of color. So these videos, as you can imagine, are super long because representation in Hollywood is like great. Racism is from so yesterday. So here is every single word spoken by a person of color in E.T.
Hey, who are you? Open the door, son.
So it took me really a long time to edit that. And this series kind of put me on the map. It was exciting. It was cool. I had the honor of being able to speak publicly about representation in film, but I wanted to speak about more issues too. So when things like trans bathroom bills started gaining media attention around the country, I created and hosted and produced an interview series called Sitting in Bathrooms with Trans People, where I humanized the very folks who are at the center of this issue. And then, are you familiar with those YouTube unboxing videos where YouTubers open up the latest electronic gadgets, all of that stuff? Okay, so instead, I satirize these by instead unboxing intangible ideologies as if they were products. Like, for example, here I'm unboxing privilege. I also unboxed masculinity, police brutality, the mistreatment of Native Americans. And don't worry, I was not afraid to look inward, so I unboxed liberal elitism. And yes, I pulled out a little tiny me in the process because you gotta drag yourself. And so the great news is these videos got super popular. A lot of people loved the stuff I was doing. I kept making satirical videos, and these videos kept growing and kept being shared. And that's great because you know when things get really popular on the internet and people love your stuff, that's it. That's the end of the journey. Everyone loves it. Everyone is happy on the internet. Of course, that is not true. The flip side to success on the internet is internet hate, and I got a lot of it. So sometimes this hate was super outright, like Chris, who was super concise and just said, you are a piece of shit, and you have to appreciate the brevity, you know, like, God bless you, Chris. Others employ beautiful turns of phrase, like Chuck, who called me a libtard fuckstick. I mean, he needs to copyright that. Like, that is a sex toy, and Chuck now owns the copyright to that sex toy. So, like, fucking go you. Let's see what else is here. Others, okay. So others take swipes at my masculinity. You have bad teeth and no masculinity, pussy boy. Okay, this is a kind of two-parter, and we have to dissect it as such. Let's start with part 2, no masculinity, pussy boy. I, too, was in middle school gym class with myself. I'm aware that I have no masculinity, and I am a pussy boy. What really upsets me about this is part 1, you have bad teeth. That is an insult to my parents who paid for 5 years of braces. So the second part I'm fine with. The first part, take it up with my mom and dad. Oh God. This is now, someone, just for the record, someone yelled, "Show us your teeth." And this is the part where you realize, like, I'm a demon and a zombie and I, unfurl my face for you. I didn't imagine that. Someone said that? Yeah, okay, great. Yes, God bless you. So it's Pride Month, so others want to make sure they hate me, but to be clear, their hatred of me is not rooted in homophobia, like Valentine, who said, "You are a disgrace to humanity, and not because you are gay." Valentine is an ally. You will see him at World Pride. He loves gay people, just hates me. And honestly, that's great. That is diversity. That's what we want. And some people want me to know that their hatred of me is rooted in homophobia, like sweet and concise Donovan, who got right to the point and just said gay wad fag. I don't spell fag with as many G's, but God bless you. I'm not going to be elitist and correct your spelling, Donovan. So it is really fun to talk about these messages now. We're all laughing. I have the microphone. I have the clicker. I have created jokes tailored to these messages. But I can tell you that it really, really sucks to receive these messages. It feels like a pile-on. It feels like shit. It is just a fully awful feeling. So what I did is I started collecting these comments and I started calling some of the people behind them. And I turned it into the podcast called Conversations with People Who Hate Me. And the podcast I see as a sort of social experiment. It is just to see what can happen when you ask a person who sent comments like these and you just ask them why. So for example, an interaction that starts like this on the internet with Chris, who called me a piece of shit, can sound like this on the phone. So, Chris, this podcast is actually called Conversations with People Who Hate Me. Do you hate me?
I no longer hate you, Dylan.
You no longer hate me, so you did?
I no longer hate you. You know why? Because you're willing to listen. I'm listening to you. You're listening to me, and that's the most important thing.
So this is what can happen on the flip side, and it's super helpful. It is healing for me. I feel like the internet feels like a smaller and more manageable place. So this also applies to our old friend, if you remember, no, not this guy, but our old friend Steve, who, if you will remember, thinks that I make god-awful masturbatory shit. Luckily, the conceit of the podcast is I call people who don't like me, so...
Hello.
Hey, Steve, how are you?
Dandy, how are you?
I'm good. Dandy, that's fancy. So you are not a fan of this podcast, and that is totally okay. I affirm you in all of your opinions and beliefs. So, Steve, you are on the podcast. What don't you love about the show?
It kind of feels like you're promising a fight in the title. So Conversations with People Who Hate Me implies that there's going to be a conflict. Mm-hmm. And then you listen, and it's kind of a love fest.
Do you not like the love fest aspect of it?
I don't mind it.
So this tweet has now changed to a pull quote, kind of a love fest. I don't mind it. So that is who I am. I am a podcaster, just like the 6 amazing teams you're going to hear from today. And this is so exciting. I think the podcasting medium is a really exciting one. The barrier of entry is is super malleable, right? You can get through, you can create your own stuff. Full disclosure, I record in my closet. Like, I am returning to the closet to record this podcast, and it feels fucking great. So some things for business, some business to attend to. 3 things. One, this is all on live stream, so people can watch on live stream. Hello, people on live stream. Where are they? Are they in a camera? Oh, right there. Wow. Now I feel like an old person who assumes that the live stream people are like right behind us. It's actually everyone who's outside. That's the live stream, right? That's technology. So hello, people. Bring it back, focus. So if you are watching on the live stream, or if you're in this room right now and you want to tweet along, tweet with the hashtag #PodCreator so we can find all your tweets, and it's very exciting and fun. We're going to hear from 6 amazing teams who spent 6 long, long months preparing for all the work, the amazing work you're about to see on this stage. So right now, we have a little video of what it looked like at the beginning of these 6 months. So without further ado.
Google approached PRX with this idea of encouraging content creation from around the globe. We really want there to be more voices, more people telling their stories and the stories of their communities.
I think what I like the most about training is talking with the other teams from all around the world and hearing about what kind of stories that they're lifting up and giving a voice to. It's really inspiring.
I feel like I'm just absorbing things like a sponge, and it's a lot to take in, but I feel like by the end of it, it'll make more sense.
This is a total team that is going to be running with you for the next 6 months and beyond.
I've met people from all over the world who are working on podcasts that range from narrative podcasts to podcasts about the Filipino diaspora.
I'm very excited to see how we progress as a group and as a cohort.
The most exciting part of training for me has definitely been applying this design thinking model to podcasting.
Design thinking is all about having a bias toward action, which means trying things out, doing them, and then getting feedback, talking to your users.
It's a muscle I haven't really flexed in a while, and I feel like this program, they like beat it into you, but in a good way.
We are learning how to think different, how to create, how to explore.
It's been really interesting to break things down, and I'm thinking we're about to build them up again.
I feel like every day, like I'm understanding things better and I'm getting more creative and I'm looking at things in a totally different way.
It's going to be actually exciting to go back and to relook at the first episodes that we've created and see how we can implement some of these ideas that we've learned.
The process of having the sky as your limit before committing to what direction you want to go is something that we're definitely going to put into practice.
Boot camp has been super challenging, really, really highly stimulating. It's been a creative explosion.
So they made it through the long journey, the long 6-month journey. They made it here, but their journey is far from ending. It is, in fact, just beginning. So to remind you, live stream, if you want to tweet along, PodCreator. If you like what you see, these are podcasts that exist in the world. Subscribe, review. That would be amazing and helpful. But are you ready to get started with our very first podcast? Yes. So this one is coming to us from Nairobi, Kenya. And it is Pride Month, as we are all aware. Just yes, Pride, gay. So go, all of us. If you're actually alive during this month right now, you're gay. That's how Pride Month works. So sorry. But what you're about to see is a really amazing story. Now, stories out of Africa are often kind of at the whim of 2 lenses. One is the local media lens that sometimes does not pay full attention and demonizes local queer people, and also the international lens that kind of casts Africa and all Africans in a kind of one-note thing. Luckily, we have Sally Chum and Ida Halinambi to shake that up a little bit. And they are here to present you queer stories. And please give it up for Afro Queer.
So a few weeks, I was on the BBC World Service talking about the work we do across Africa.
What sort of stories have you been hearing?
Oh, all kinds of stories. I mean, of course, there have been very difficult stories of family rejection, stories of violence, but there's also many stories of resilience, people creating families.
I did the interview and went into the office, and then the BBC put a link to the article on Facebook.
The headline says, working to make sure that Africa's LGBTQ community is remembered, Sally Chum records people's stories.
And then, of course, the comments start to roll in.
Stop promoting rubbish. We don't want any white man's curse in Africa.
Africans are not gays or lesbians.
There you go again, invading Africa with Western rubbish.
We've got our own culture. They should accept that.
We reject it completely.
Eish! We condemn and reject. This is white people's baseless culture, not Africans.
This is something we hear at Afro Queer over and over again. That homosexuality is un-African, that there were no gay people before Europeans came. And what's really frustrating is
this just isn't true. We interviewed a ton of experts, and they told us that before colonialism, there's proof of fluid gender identity and sexuality amongst the Langi in Uganda, the Kisi in Kenya, the Igbo in Nigeria, the Nuer in South Sudan, the Tutsi in Rwanda, the Kuria of Tanzania, and archives of things like this. Ancient Egyptian artwork from about 2350 BC.
So the sentiments expressed by our Facebook commenters haven't always been the dominant attitude. Today, homosexuality is criminalized in 32 of the 54 countries on the African continent, including Kenya, where we make our show.
On May 24th, 2019, the High Court was set to rule on repealing Section 162A and C of the Kenyan Penal Code, which says,
any person who has carnal knowledge or permits a male person to have carnal knowledge of him or her against the order of nature is guilty of a felony.
Basically, when they say carnal knowledge, they mean sex. And against the order of nature means literally any sex that isn't penis and vagina procreative sex.
The Kenyan court also ruled on repealing Section 165.
Any male person, whether in public or private, commits an act of gross indecency with another male person or procures another male person to commit any act of gross indecency with him or attempts to procure the commission of any such act by any male person with himself or another male person, whether in public or private, is guilty of a felony.
Yeah. So this clause is important because it means that not only can you be arrested for having sex with someone of the same sex, but also for simply trying to. So hitting on somebody is a felony, enough to land you in prison.
These laws have been part of the Kenyan Penal Code since 1897, when Kenya was still under the rule of the British Empire.
And to understand why, we're gonna have to start in the cold-ass north, England. Prior to 1533 in England, the Catholic Church was responsible for meting out punishment for something they called acts of buggery.
Acts of buggery were defined as anal sex, whether with a man or woman, as well as bestiality.
Now in 1533, King Henry VIII was at war with the Catholic Church. He wanted to get divorced from his first wife, Catherine, and marry his already pregnant girlfriend, Anne Boleyn. But the Catholic Church would not allow the divorce.
So Henry decided he would break from the Catholic Church, make England Protestant, get his divorce, and marry Anne.
He then passed the Buggery Act, which was the first time that the Parliament of England took on the responsibility of punishing people who they believed had committed this offense against God and man. And this crime was punishable by death.
According to scholars of the law, Henry was less interested in legislating against homosexuality or people committing buggery, but was using the law as a political tool to crush enemies who supported the Catholic Church. Remember, he's trying to get his divorce.
So if you're on the wrong side of Henry, you'd have to confess to buggery, having anal sex or sex with an animal. The government would be able to seize all of your property and wealth, and then you could be executed.
It wasn't just a law.
It was a weapon.
Later that century, towards the end of the 1500s, England started empire building.
By brutally enslaving and subjugating people.
Planting flags.
Forcing people to speak English.
Taking land that wasn't theirs.
Extracting resources and generally making themselves
very
wealthy.
But what they also did was bring their laws.
Britain's empire-building project came hand in hand with puritanical and Victorian social morals. While sending their soldiers away from their families to travel the world and conquer, Britain was also anxious about what their men would get up to in these faraway, exoticized lands.
So Britain introduced strict codes regulating sexual behavior that they called penal codes. A penal code is a list of criminal offenses and their punishments.
So initially, these penal codes weren't even about regulating the sexualities of the people the British were colonizing. Britain was worried about their own soldiers and colonists who might turn to each other for comfort on those long journeys.
So when the British wrote the Indian Penal Code, they included a clause to criminalize homosexuality. And it was included in all colonial penal codes thereafter, including Kenya and many other African countries.
The garden party at Government House was an informal farewell to British rule in Kenya. Jomo Kenyatta.
Kenya won independence from Britain in 1963. No longer under British rule, Kenya drafted its own constitution and became a republic.
But what stayed the same? The penal codes that criminalized homosexuality.
So in its recommendations, the human rights body wants the government to stop the violence meted on lesbians, gays, bisexual, transgender, and sexual workers.
Since then, these laws have had an enormous impact on the lives of lesbian, gay, bisexual, gender nonconforming, transgender, and intersex Kenyans, as well as their loved ones. People have been evicted from their homes, lost their jobs, had their children taken away, been blackmailed, and harassed by police.
In 2010, Kenya adopted a new constitution. Civil society groups and queer activists hoped that this more liberal constitution would lead to a lasting change because of this clause.
The state shall not discriminate directly or indirectly against any person on any ground, including race, sex, pregnancy, marital status, health status, ethnic or social origin, color, age, disability, religion, conscience, belief, culture, dress, language, or birth.
That clause created an opportunity for LGBT activists to take the Kenyan government to court and challenge the penal code. The argument being that this penal code was now unconstitutional as it discriminated directly against LGBT people. So in 2016, a coalition of LGBT organizations filed petitions to challenge the penal code.
The same penal code that had been passed down from King Henry VIII in the 1530s,
the British colonization of India in the 19th century,
Kenyan independence in the 1960s,
and Kenyan constitutional reform in 2010.
This law has haunted and harassed the Commonwealth for centuries.
And on May 24th, 2019, activists, allies, and journalists piled into the court. And then the judges read out the ruling. The High Court of Kenya issued its ruling deciding to uphold this law. We lost.
While disappointed, activists on the ground in Kenya know that this is just one hurdle in the long journey to equality.
An appeal is going to be filed, so this is by no means over.
This season on Afro Queer, we're telling stories just like this one. Stories that delve deep into the truths of queer African lives and histories.
Stories not only from Kenya, but from Somalia, Zimbabwe, Uganda, Guinea, Nigeria, and the diaspora.
Stories of people who are facing tough challenges with incredible resilience. Stories of overcoming diversity, adversity, but also of complexity and joy.
To listen to the stories of queer Africans living and loving, surviving and thriving,
subscribe to the Afro Queer podcast on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Pocket Casts, and pretty much anywhere podcasts are available.
Follow us on social media or get in touch at www.afroqueerpodcast.com.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Please give it up once again for Afro Queer. Yes. That's amazing. I feel like we Americans have this awful tendency of really patting ourselves on the back for all kind of stretches towards equality. And then you realize, in fact, Westerners had a hand in kind of sowing their seeds everywhere else. So that's really horrible. Thank you guys so much. That was really, really beautiful. So we are going to move on to a little closer than Nairobi, Kenya. We have Aselika Smith from Baltimore, Maryland. Yes, Baltimore. If you've heard of it, shout. So Aselika is a design student who came to PRX and wanted to have a conversation with one of her favorite authors, a deep, rich conversation about race, identity, and beauty. And there is one small problem, which is that this author died in 1922. So she decided to take that author's seminal text, The Colored Girl Beautiful, and have conversations with the author. So please give it up for Aselika Smith.
The colored child should be taught Negro history, that she may be proud of her dark skin. This is a quote from the book The Colored Girl Beautiful. And when I first read these words when I was in graduate school, they felt new. They felt like something I wanted to believe was true, but wasn't really sure existed out in the real world. If by chance you are not a Black person, you may not be quite as familiar with the nuances of color among Black people. And I would say it's generally pretty common among Black families to discuss skin color, and my family was no different. Your particular shade of brown, categorized generally by light skin or dark skin, is always noted. So this is me as a kid. And as you can see, I've always been about this shade of brown. And I would say very firmly in the dark skin category. And while my mother told me regularly that I was pretty, she also cautioned me heavily against getting any darker. This is me after my first and only trip to the beach as a kid, where I got my first and only sunburn. Side note, that is not just wet hair, it is jerry curled hair. Thank you, early 90s. And normally on occasions like this, where I would be out in the sun all day long, my mother would make sure that I was slathering on sunscreen to prevent tanning. Now, I wasn't with my family on this particular trip, so I either skipped the sunscreen, I hated it because it made me look ashy, or I stayed out in the sun too long and just exceeded its usefulness. Either way, I snagged a nice little tan for this picture. But it was made quite clear to me that I should be putting considerable effort into not getting darker. Darker was bad. Eventually, I started to carry that around with me, this idea that I should be ashamed of my dark skin. And throughout middle and high school, you couldn't tell me that I wasn't the blackest thing walking, and in my mind, there wasn't anything worse that I could be. I hid my tan lines when I got them. I compared myself constantly to my friends who were lighter than me, and I just assumed that I wasn't attractive because I was dark-skinned. I was just ashamed to be myself. By the time I hit college, though, it had become exhausting and miserable, and I decided that I was tired of being ashamed. I started actively working to appreciate all aspects of myself, including my skin color. And I wish I could say that it happened all at once, like it does in the movies where there's a girl and she's sad and she doesn't believe in herself, and then all of a sudden something profound happens to her, and the next scene she's basically turned into Beyonce, stomping down the homecoming runway dressed as a queen. I wish it had happened to me like that, but it didn't. It happened slowly over the course of several years, generally my college career and a little bit after. But I started to think of myself differently. So I started to seek out women who looked like me and who were darker than me that I genuinely felt were beautiful. I embraced the Black girl magic trends that were just becoming prominent around that time, and I celebrated my melanin with the rest of Black America. And I reminded myself to be grateful for the incredible 8 years that my First Lady was the gorgeous Michelle LaVaughn Obama. Fast forward to grad school, and I'm in a design class with a friend of mine who's just presented on a project about the pressures of women to be and present in a certain way. And when I asked her about her work after class, she told me that she'd used this book, The Colored Go Beautiful, as a reference. Now, this was around 2016, and I never heard of this book before, so I went home, I looked it up, and in the first few pages, I found that quote about being proud of your dark skin. This book was written by a woman named Madam Amazilia Hackley in 1916, and it was a collection of speeches that she gave, primarily to young Black women in the Jim Crow South. She wanted them to know that they were beautiful and brilliant and the pride of the Black race. Now, imagine my surprise. I've been on this lifelong journey of self-acceptance and have finally come out on the other side, loving myself more, and I come across these beautiful words, written lovingly on a page over 100 years ago. Words that could have helped make my journey easier, that I would have loved to hear at 12 or 16 or 19. And at this point, I wanted to know everything about the book. I tore through the pages looking for more of this sort of encouragement, and I found it. Throughout the book, I found messages telling Black women to be unafraid and to have faith in themselves and to take control over our own lives. And these would have been empowering encouragements in 1916, but they resonate with me now. And as I read, I thought, this is it. This is the book that every little Black girl should read growing up. So I read on, and I expected 200 pages of affirmations just like these. And I found plenty that were significant, but that wasn't all I found. Among all of the encouragements for Black women, I also found phrases that did not sit well with me. I found suggestions that we try not to be noticed unless others notice how quiet we are. And I thought, what the hell is that all about? Why is my quietness the only thing that's allowed to take up space in a room? And as much as I love Madam Hackley's encouragement for Black women, I struggled with the limitations that she placed on us. She said that we should both love ourselves and make ourselves small, and be proud of our limitless potential, but not too ambitious. I was reminded of my own struggle with self-acceptance and having been told that I was pretty, but too dark to ever be beautiful. Why were we doing this to each other back then? How is it still happening to me now? I want to know how we break free of this cycle. I found myself scribbling questions like this frantically in the margins of my copy of the book, asking them to no one in particular, kind of like a crazy person. And I wanted and needed a way to process them. I found myself wondering if other Black women had these questions, so I decided to talk to a few.
I don't know why those stats come out so much and so often in the articles, like in Essence and stuff, about like the plight of the Black woman and like we're doomed. We're educated but alone.
Being loved feels like completion.
I don't think I'm ugly.
but I don't know if I always feel beautiful.
There are times when I'm just not pleased. And you may be the one who did not please me.
Even though we are diverse and we're not a monolith, at the same time, there is this ancestral historical connection.
I felt a slight pang of, I didn't pursue anything that my people need.
Those thoughts led me to the idea for this podcast, The Colored Girl Beautiful. And in each episode, I talk with Black women about one of the topics from the book. I want to know how other Black women are managing these competing messages that have been passed down to us about love and ambition and racial responsibility and family obligation and friendship and all the other things that Madam Hackley talks about in her book. I want to hear and share stories of Black women being vulnerable and honest about their struggles and successes in navigating Black womanhood today. At the end of the foreword of The Colored Girl Beautiful, Madam Hackley says, "I send these thoughts to the daughters of other colored women, hoping that among them there is some new thought worthy of a racial amen." And this is my way of doing just that, adding my own new thoughts, as Madam Hackley puts it. I don't know what I'll find, but I hope you'll listen along and we'll figure it out together. Thank you.
Oh my God, wow. Yes, please keep it going for Aselica. Stephanie, would it be possible to pull up that picture of young Aselica? No, we can't. Okay, please everyone remember it in your heads. Aselica, thank you, because that is seared in my mind forever. Thank you. It was like there was checkerboard on the side, and there were two distinct colors. Honey, yes. You had it going. You were how old? I was probably about 8 or 9. 8 or 9? Wow. Okay, you're my style. You at 8 or 9, style icon for me. Cut to in the next half, I'll be wearing that exact outfit. Wow, that would be amazing. Okay, so thank you, Aselica. A reminder, you can find all of these shows in the wild on the internet, and you can subscribe, you can review, you can show your love. So next up, we have someone from Philadelphia. We have Tezra Wilkins, Tezra wanted drivers to reflect on things on the road. She wanted to ask about their experiences on the road, so she asked such expected questions as, what makes you horny? These are always the questions I have for drivers. Look back at all those drivers out there right now. What do you think makes them horny? You know, think about that for every single car. You have changed my mind now and how I see the highway. So thank you for that. With tackling things like who taught you how to drive, Tezra is really getting to the heart of so many much bigger things. So here with who taught you how to drive, where's the emphasis? Where do you feel? Oh my God, that wasn't me. Who taught you how to drive, or who taught me how to drive is my own spin-off of that podcast. Please give it up for Tezra Wilkins.
Hello, pleasure to be here. I am Tezra, of course. I am the host of Who Taught You How to Drive, a quirky, comical look at identity through the driving experience. Each episode, I ride shotgun with a new regular-ass person, and today, I'm riding shotgun with you. So, let's imagine it's a sunny day like it is today, not a lot of traffic, we're chatting, and you're in the driver's seat, all of you, okay? The only thing we're missing is some music, right? Yes. All right, so I've put together some moves that we can do while we're driving. You guys want to do them? Yes. All right. So the first two moves,
fairly easy, so I'm just gonna do them and you can follow along. It's just a cool 8 count, okay? So you can swag it out whatever way you want. All right, so we got shoulder, 2, 3, 4, shoulder, 6, 7, 8. Up, 2, 3, 4, over, 6, 7, 8. That's easy, right? All right, so this third move, a little more difficult, so I need you to focus. All right? You got it? All right. So we're gonna go up, 2, 3, 4, up, 6, 7, 8. Y'all think y'all could do all of that together? All right, cool. I'm gonna count y'all in, all right? Here we go. In 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. That was dope. Y'all did awesome. Give yourselves a bigger round of applause for that. I am a little concerned at how easy it was to distract you while driving, though. Yeah. I mean, but we are in Boston. So, a little about me. I have been obsessed with human behavior my entire life. People who know me would say that I'm not much of a talker, and I'm probably a little more of an observer. I was a psychology major in undergrad. I'm an avid people watcher. You get the gist, right? And I'm willing to bet that most of the people in the audience tonight are kind, right? Pleasant enough people. Would you say that? But your driving sucks. Seriously, I'm sure a couple of y'all waved at me on the way into the theater. But earlier today, you definitely flipped me off while cutting across 3 lanes of traffic on the 90. Like, seriously, it's disgusting. So that brings me to the origin of this show. I am completely fascinated by who we become when we get behind the wheel. It gives us this sense of anonymity that allows us to, I don't know how you say it, act a fool. And road rage is everywhere. Expedia even did a report on it in 2016. And I want to see if y'all know the top 5 driving behaviors that get people the most angry on the road. Are you ready? All right, so the 5th most hated driving behavior. What do you think it is? Somebody shout something out. Oh, yes. Crawlers. You know those people. Those people who drive slower than you could run. And on purpose. So we had a guest in our last season who was totally guilty of this.
Yeah, I think one time I was going too slow, and then the person passed me and be like, "Drive the damn car!" Yeah. I said, "I am driving." Like, what do you think I'm doing? I didn't stop.
The boulevard is what, like 45? Is it, maybe?
No. On Route 1 said 35, and that's what I do every time. You know, the signs that says, slow down, and they always tell me, thank you. 31, thank you. It says that.
Who else in here hates slow drivers? All right, I need to identify you people. It's a darkened audience. All right, so the 4th most hated driving behavior is the left lane hog. You know, those people who just, y'all feel me? Those people who just sit there when I'm trying to get by. The left lane is for passing the crawlers in the right lane. That's the whole point. Oh, sheesh. Anyway, all right, I digress. So the 3rd most hated driving behavior, what y'all think it is? Shout something out. Surprisingly, it's all of those things. We call that multitasking. Yes, those people who do everything in their car except pay attention to the road. Now, we knew that people would say that they might talk on the phone, maybe you put on a little lipstick in the morning, maybe sometimes you read the paper, but we did not expect for our guests to say that they did this.
You're not supposed to eat a hoagie while you drive.
Wait, while you're driving, like actually driving the car, you know?
Or make a sandwich.
make a sandwich. Sandwiches? Like, so you're saying like on multiple occasions, or you make multiple sandwiches in one ride?
It can be all of the above. All of the above, I will say that. Multiple sandwiches and multiple rides with sandwiches made.
I think she's from Boston. All right, so the top two. We're here, ladies and gentlemen. So the second most hated driving behavior is tailgating. We ain't this right? Tailgate. All right, so I don't know what the hell that is, but that's not what I'm talking about. All right, so people hate tailgating. I want you to put 2 hands in the air if you hate somebody riding your ass. Yeah, I thought so. All right, so 69% of people said that when drivers do this behavior, it gets them the most angry on the road. And I want for all of you to say it with me on the count of 3 because I think you all know it, okay? So 1, 2, 3. Texting, yes. And I didn't hear as many people say that as I thought, so I don't want you to go getting all self-righteous. I want you to turn to the person next to you and then repeat after me. I've texted while driving too. Because I know you have. I have. Yes. We did get a generational split when we talked to people on our show about this, though. Are you a texter?
No, I'm not.
You said that you see people texting all the time. Who are these people?
The millenniums. Younger kids.
Why do you think they do that?
They have ADD. Something wrong with them.
Do you text while you're driving?
I don't want to answer that question. Yeah, I do. And I feel terrible about it. I tell myself I only text when I'm at stop signs or at red lights, which I know is still not good, but at least I'm not texting while I'm in motion.
You can't drive and text. You don't have 4 eyes, you only got 2.
What if they wearing glasses?
That's still not considered 4 eyes.
Thank you
so
much.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I was just checking for myself. So we find that in talking to people about driving, we get stories that are both funny and layered. We have fun for sure, but we also talk about issues like rage. We talk about how technology impacts human behavior. And we also talk about social issues like gender and race. Meet Joshua. He's a 26-year-old tech entrepreneur from the suburbs of Philly. He's a mentor, a musician. He even gives back to his community.
I drove a black Mercedes-Benz for a while, and because I'm black, African American,
black on black,
black on black, okay. black on black on black, I'm automatically a drug dealer, apparently, in their eyes. And I've gotten pulled over just like 2-3 times in my car searched just because I'm black driving a nice car. It's a crazy experience, first and foremost, because I've never been in cuffs before. Yeah. And the reason I'm getting put in cuffs is unlawful and unjust.
Right. Yeah.
It gave me a more sensitivity towards minorities in certain neighborhoods. I've now understood why certain people respond to police the way they do. It's one of those situations where like now I sympathize with them more because I understand why they are the way towards them, because they just see them as statistics. They see us as statistics.
Yeah. Okay, so quick statistic. Black people are twice as likely to be pulled over as white people, even though white people drive more. How frustrating is that to know? Anybody else frustrated by that? Right. It's ridiculous. Crazy world we live in. But what better way to examine it? Who taught you how to drive allows you to pop the hood and explore? But I can't let you all leave without talking about safety. All right, so we remember our car dance, right? So those moves you learned at the beginning of the episode, those were safety precautions. Yeah, I hope y'all remember them because we're gonna do them again. And I want you to remember them because again, we're in Boston. All right? I'm gonna count you in. So 5, 6, 7, 8, and always wear those seatbelts. And up. Keep those windshields clean so y'all can see, right? And all right, what's that? Keep both hands on the wheel and use those turn signals, for goodness sakes. All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much for riding with us today. I just want to say thank you to my producer, Melissa Swee, right over there. Thank you so much. You can find our podcast wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. You can Google us, Instagram, Facebook. We are there. Happy Juneteenth. Come ride with us.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you for that. I did anyone else get their license late in life? Yes, we have some. I'm from, New York City. I'm from New York City, and we are terrified of being in cars. We can take subways at age 10, but then you put us in cars, and we're like, that's it. I'll never leave this island. That's what we decide for ourselves. All right, so friends, we just saw 3 amazing, amazing podcasts. Very exciting news. We're about to see 3 more after a break. So you're gonna have a break, you can go to the bathroom, you can do whatever makes you happy. Or makes you happy, not at the expense of someone else, hopefully. Do what feels right for you. There's a bar, go get a drink. There's a special drink called the Pod Creator. Fancy stuff, I think there are blueberries in it, not to brag. That's how I choose drinks, is how much fruit there is. So go to the bar, tip your bartender, do whatever you need to do, and we will see you back in 15 minutes. Thank you so much. Welcome back. Yes, microphone, love it. If you can hear me in the lobby, start filtering back in. Welcome back, everyone. We are gonna start. Hello, hi, look at you. We're old friends. We follow each other on Twitter, if you've heard of it. Yes, drinks. How was the Pod Creator? Did anyone have it? Yes. So yeah, people are going wild on the Pod Creator. Yes, beer. Yes, phones. Yes, filtering in. Okay. So as we're going to filter in, we're going to take our conversations, we're going to condense them, God bless them, we're going to continue them later. But first, what I wanted to do, as we're all filtering in quietly, as the people who are in the lobby hear me and they're so excited to come back into this space, before we continue, and like I said, we have 3 amazing, amazing podcasts that we're about to share with you. But before we continue, we're going to have some words from Mark Pagan, the program manager of Google Podcast Creator Program, and he is going to say a few things. So please welcome Mark. Is this a Mark is not here kind of thing? Okay, yes, yes. Mark is actually just an... Mark!
Hi, guys. I got so caught out there. I was like, Pod Creator drinks. What's in these things? And then I forgot everything. Yes. So anyway, I thank you. Thank you all for coming. Seriously, thank you. I want an applause for you for coming. This is amazing that you're here. These teams have worked so hard. I want to bring somebody else up on the stage with me, Zach Renaud-Wedin from Google. And Zach, if you can come up here and join me. And we want to talk to you a little bit about, give you some background to the program. And Zach, if you can start off and tell us a little bit about the sort of the initiation of all of this.
Sure. Thank you. Have any of you guys heard of Google Podcasts? Okay. Yeah, that's actually the most applause that question's ever got. Usually it's like 30%. We have this Google Podcast project, which is primarily an Android app that you can use to listen to podcasts and find new ones. And it also powers podcasts across Google Assistant and Google Search. And we've been working on it for a few years now, but really it kind of came to fruition last year in 2018. And as we were building the app, we really felt philosophically that podcasts are for everyone. And our overarching goal as an organization is to help double worldwide podcast listening. And so what that means is it doesn't mean getting people who are already listening to podcasts a few new features that will cause them to switch apps. It means helping people around the world, in India, in Brazil, in the US, and everywhere else, find and listen to podcasts in all languages and for people of all different interests. And so while we're doing that, we also noticed that on the top charts, at least in the US, the majority, almost probably 75% of the top podcasts were hosted by men and primarily white men. And so that left only about a quarter hosted by women, even fewer by people of color. And if we're trying to make podcasting a universal medium and bring podcasts to people all around the world, we know that it can't look like that. There need to be stories from people of all backgrounds that will resonate with all types of people. And so it felt very weird for us to be building this consumer product, but not necessarily investing as much on the creator side. And so we felt very strongly that on our launch day, which was actually a year ago today, which I thought might be planned, but I was the only one who knew it last night. We also announced a Google Podcast Creator Program around 3 central pillars that Mark is going to talk about, which are empowering creators, showcasing what they're up to inspire the entire industry, and then helping educate people, even if they're not fortunate enough to come and be a part of the program. And we ended up deciding to partner with PRX after a long search led by Kyla Wilkes, who's here in the audience today, our head of partnerships. And PRX, you guys all know this already, so I'll let Mark do the talking, but they have a storied history when it comes to training, and we couldn't be more happy with how it's gone and the impact that they've made. So thank you all so much for being here, the people who are on live stream for tuning in, and especially the creators here for really making us look smarter than we are.
Thanks, Zach. I'm going to talk very briefly, or as briefly as I can, about PRX, a little bit about the program. Like Zach said, the Google Podcast Creator Program has 3 pillars. Let me take a step back, actually. Who here knows PRX? Raise your hands. All right, speaking to the choir, I feel like there's not much more information I can give you, but there is, we are a media and technology company here in Boston, and one of the things that's really wonderful to me, of course I'm biased because I'm a part of it, but it was really incredible. PRX has moved into having a training arm of the organization, which is led by our director of training down here, Carrie Donahue, the very wonderful Carrie Donahue. Ask her, we should give her a button saying, ask me questions about training for after this. But this program started, I had met Zach when it was announced, right before I started working on the program. The 3 pillars, one of them you're seeing tonight, which is the showcase. You're seeing the showcase of the talent that we are working with that get invited to this program. The other side of the free tools that Zach talked about, those for us are going to be a global asset of podcast, basically podcasting 101 videos, which we will probably be releasing sometime in the fall, but these will be available to everybody in the world, translated into 6 languages. And there's going to be a multi-episodic series of videos. But of course, the other side of all of this is empowering underrepresented voices from all around the world. And there's a number of ways we do that. We have these 20 weeks of training. We also have this incredible advisory committee, a number of whom are here with us tonight. So if you are part of the advisory committee, really quickly, we have advisors who came in from India, Brazil, Jordan, New York City. I know it's just an Amtrak ride, but people are busy, people. So if we could get our advisors to just please stand up, just indulge us, stand up, wave. These are industry talents. These are people. I have just put a light on them so you can talk to them afterwards and ask them how you can learn podcasting or learn about podcasting, and especially in places like Jordan and Brazil, et cetera. But these advisors give their time not only to us and give us their input, but specifically to the teams that they work with. So we started this program with a 1 application window in October. We wrapped that up in December. This is the result. What you're seeing tonight is the result of that. 6 teams were picked. But we had a 2nd application window. And that 2nd application window ended in late April. And you know what? We picked 6 more teams. And you know what? We are going to introduce them to you tonight. So I say all that, and then I'm not pointing at the door, and they're going to walk out or anything like that. Although we have one team that is here. But the way I'm going to introduce them to you, and I'm going to get off the stage, is we have a video. We asked these 6 teams from around the world to take their iPhone or Android or whatever they had and just say a few words wherever they were and say hello as we welcome them and the new cohort of the Google Podcast Creator Program. Again, I want to thank you all so much for being here tonight. Our teams appreciate it. We appreciate it. Give them a lot of love for the next 3 teams that you'll see. And I will hand it over to the video now so we can meet the new teams. I will get off the stage. Thank you.
Hi guys.
Hola a todos.
Hello. Olá. Oi pessoal.
Jazz di hola.
أنا اسمي عفيف عم بحكيكم من المطار بنيويورك بس عادة أنا عايش ببيروت.
أنا اسمي ريا وعم بحكيكم من بيروت. البودكاست تبعنا اسمه مسرحية
أو هير ستيت بالإنجليزي.
ورح ناخدكم على عالم بقلب بيروت يلي ما بتعرفوها ورح تتعرفوا على فنانين، كوميديين، رسامين، كتاب، كل واحد عم بيستعمل المسرح تبعه ليغير معايير المجتمع.
Me llamo Isabel Cadenas Cañón y estoy en la soleada y ruidosa ciudad de Madrid. Mi podcast se llama De eso no se habla y es un podcast sobre las cosas, las personas, las historias que están ausentes de nuestro discurso cotidiano, ya sea porque duelen demasiado o porque no tenemos las palabras para hablar de ella o porque cuestionan el status quo.
I'm Samyukta Verma. And I'm Radhika Vishwanathan. And we're in Bangalore, India. Our show is called City of Women. And it's a show that takes listeners on hyper-local tours of the city so that you can discover it in ways that no one has before, through the eyes of its women.
It's Michelle James, otherwise known as MJ.
My name is Danielle Brown, and I am from the United States. Currently, I am in Jamaica. I am the other half of a podcast called Cocktails of Cancer.
What is Cocktails of Cancer? Well, it's a wellness podcast about 2 best friends living their best life after a cancer diagnosis.
Eu sou a Sara Zoubel.
Eu sou a Bia Guimarães.
A gente faz o 37 Graus, um podcast que funde ciência com narrativas humanas.
A gente conta histórias por trás das paisagens e dos eventos mais icônicos do Brasil.
Mi nombre es Juan Serrano, yo soy el presentador y el productor ejecutivo de un periódico de ayer.
Soy Daniel Díaz de Bogotá, Colombia. Soy el diseñador de sonido para un periódico de ayer podcast.
Mi nombre es Miguel Reyes, soy colombiano pero vivo en Miami y soy el productor de un periódico de ayer.
Vamos a explorar las distintas maneras en que la historia y las noticias del pasado moldean las vidas privadas del presente.
Nós estamos muito animados para conhecer os outros times e participar do treinamento.
Thank you, and see you soon.
See you in a few weeks in Boston.
Nos vemos pronto. Muchas gracias.
Merci وبشوفكم كتير قريبا.
And I'm out.
Nos vemos pronto.
That is amazing. Thank you so much. So exciting to meet them. And also huge thank you to Zach and all of the people at Google who are doing this. As we know, podcasting is in fact very white. So white, put the glasses on, sunglasses, it's a white thing. But it's not a white thing, and I'm so excited and so happy to see so many people changing that. So huge thank you to Zach, huge thank you to PRX. This is really awesome. So now we are traveling to Santiago, Chile. And we have on stage with me, I was about to say we're about to meet them, but we have Catalina May and we have Martin Cruz. And they make a podcast called Las Raras, which is Spanish for outsiders. And this is really cool. What you're about to see is Catalina is about to record or narrate live while Martin mixes live. And it's all in Spanish. Don't worry, there are subtitles. Here is the intro. This team is all about finding stories no one else would tell. Lots of media in Chile is conservative or government-owned. Stories of people challenging the norms and defying status quo. Stories with a rebellious spirit. Stories of brave people, like you and me, only much braver. Stories like this one.
Bueno, vamos a convertir el carro en modo laboratorio, ¿no? Se cierran compuestas. Y hay que cerrar todas las ventanas. Y ya está.
A mí me da claustrofobia.
Hay que acostumbrarse. Sí, tenemos una buena cantidad de luz, ¿no piensas? Eso, lo primero es dejar que los ojos se acostumbren, porque la luz roja te deja ver, pero tampoco... Ahí está. Ya están los químicos listos. Tampoco son peligrosos estos químicos a nivel de piel. Aquí está la película con la imagen latente, ¿no?
Un fotógrafo español que recorre nuestro país en una casa rodante maravillosa. Decía el mito que la casa móvil, además, es una cámara de fotos gigante y que el fotógrafo, mientras viaja, le enseña a los niños de sectores aislados cómo se hacían las fotos antes, cuando las imágenes no eran desechables.
Eso de la imagen latente. Es como poesía al mismo tiempo, ¿no?
Sonaba como el tipo de persona que nos gusta retratar, de bajo perfil, pero con una forma de vida rupturista. Por eso lo rastreamos, lo encontramos a la orilla de un lago en el sur y le pedimos que nos dejara entrar en su mundo y hacer una foto con él. Esto es Las Raras, historias de libertad.
Hola, Fernando. Buen día. Hola. Hola.
Fernando Aceña tiene 43 años y viaja con su perro Yagán.
¿Y qué tenemos aquí al frente?
Es una cámara oscura móvil.
Fernando construyó esta casa rodante desde cero y usó materiales nobles.
En este caso se hizo todo desde el principio, pensando en estas antiguas caravanas tiradas por caballos de los fotógrafos de los años 1850, 1900 casi.
La casa móvil es una belleza. Parece sacada de una película de Wes Anderson, o Miyazaki, o Pixar.
Tiene mucho aluminio como estructura exterior y mucha madera.
Las paredes están pintadas de un blanco envejecido.
Es muy pequeñito, esto es una cosa de 3 metros por 2, pero bueno, luego tiene muchos rincones y muchas alteraciones del formato, entonces, aunque sea un espacio pequeño, es muy práctico.
Aquí todo es modular, eficiente y multiuso.
El hecho de que sea un diseño artesanal, alguien dice, como de Julio Verne, ¿no? Un poco como estas construcciones a base de tornillos y de fierro.
Muéstranos, muéstranos.
Pues venga, vamos. Adelante. Yo le digo submarino también a veces.
Y hay que subir 2 peldaños para entrar.
Como construcción es un rectángulo y tiene unas bancas a los 2 costados, o sea, que son baúles y que son los asientos. O sea,
dentro de los baúles están todas las cosas de Fernando perfectamente ordenadas, como en un puzzle.
Y ahí cuéntanos cómo funciona lo de la cama, que también es una incógnita.
Pues eso es un... No, tú bajas esto solamente.
Es una cama desmontable en el fondo.
Aquí ya te queda...
Y es para allá. Genial.
Y luego además yo tengo esta salida acá. Que
en este momento Fernando salta arriba de su cama, abre una compuerta invisible y sale al techo.
Que esto lo ocupo bastante.
Increíble, ¿no? Impresionante.
Es como una terraza, porque tú puedes subir, ¿ves? Acá arriba. Ahora hay un árbol.
Me encanta tu casa. Es muy, muy bacán.
Lo más impresionante es que la casa además se transforma en una cámara de fotos.
La cámara oscura, que eso es lo entretenido de este lugar.
El sistema funciona así. Cuando la casa se cierra por completo, queda totalmente a oscuras, excepto por 4 perforaciones por donde puede entrar la luz. Cuando Fernando instala lentes en esas perforaciones, la casa se convierte en una cámara fotográfica.
O sea que tú vives en tu cámara de fotos.
Claro, habitar la cámara. 1, 2, 3, yo creo que nos vamos, ¿no?
¿Nos vamos? Ya.
Pues se cierra.
Fernando Aceña no tenía por qué ser un artista, pero siempre fue un rebelde. Creció en los años 80 en un sector rural al norte de España donde todos eran muy católicos.
A los 12 años decidí no hacer la confirmación. Fui el único en el pueblo que no hizo la confirmación.
Su familia tenía un taller mecánico y él jugaba entre chatarras y tuercas.
Siempre tuve mucha influencia vinculada a la construcción, al hacer con las manos, a ocupar máquinas, herramientas, o sea, siempre tuve mucha relación desde pequeño con eso.
Fernando conoció la fotografía a los 14 años, cuando estudiaba en un internado y tomó un taller. Cuando terminó el colegio decidió dejar su pueblo para ir a estudiar y convertirse en fotógrafo.
Mis padres no me apoyaron con el tema de fotografía, y menos cuando decidí irme a Barcelona. Y no es que mis padres hayan cometido un error, sino que era a lo mejor quizá el ingrediente que se necesitaba para que yo tomara mi decisión propia y mi viaje propio y mi historia propia de vida, ¿no?
Eran los tiempos de la fotografía análoga y a él le gustaba hacer fotos de estudio, montajes y collage.
No soy documentalista, no soy un reportero, no trabajo tanto con la realidad. Para mí es como la construcción de la imagen es algo más personal y una cosa más de armar algo, ¿no? Eso lo he seguido haciendo y lo sigo haciendo.
Entonces estamos buscando el spot perfecto para sacarle la foto al volcán. ¿Esa es nuestra misión?
Es hacer el encuadre, claro.
Hacer el encuadre.
En este momento, Fernando está trabajando en una serie fotográfica sobre volcanes.
Es un poco aparatosa esta cámara en todo caso, ¿no?
Sí.
El año 2000, Fernando viajó a Chile para encontrarse con una amiga fotógrafa. Juntos instalaron una escuela de fotografía. La llamaron Cámara Lúcida. Estuvieron más de 10 años dedicados a la educación.
Al final, entonces, toda tu energía se va solo en la parte educativa, que es una trampa, porque te gusta mucho, te absorbe mucho.
Después de todo ese tiempo, Fernando empezó a sentir que quería probar otra forma de hacer las cosas.
Soltar un poco ese tema de la oficina, del lugar, de la casa, del arriendo, como de la inversión.
Decidió que iba a viajar y que para eso necesitaba una casa rodante multiuso. Le dio muchas vueltas al asunto antes de definir qué roles tenía que cumplir.
Que finalmente se definió como casa, por un lado, como cámara y laboratorio para una cosa más personal de fotógrafo, por otro lado, y como un lugar que lo educativo no se perdiera.
Lo siguiente era encontrar una cosa como esa.
Fui a ver muchas casas rodantes, antiguas, muy bonitas, o sea, que te quedas impresionado, de estas de los años 70, de los años 80.
Pero nada lo convencía. Al final, optó por construir su casa rodante él mismo. Tenía la experiencia del trabajo en el taller mecánico de su familia en España. Él creía que se iba a demorar 1 año.
Luego me di cuenta que era imposible en 1 año y tuvieron que ser 2. Y luego me di cuenta que no eran posible en 2 y tuvieron que ser 3.
En 2015, por fin estuvo listo para empezar su viaje. Bautizó su proyecto como Museo Interactivo de la Luz. En el camino, visita los colegios de los lugares a los que llega y le hace talleres de fotografía en su casa cámara a los niños.
Ya, pues yo quiero ver. ¿Tenemos por aquí? Sí, acá está. Sí, está en todos los lugares, acá atrás igual. Parece una tele.
Un aplauso a Fernanda.
Finalmente, estamos estacionados y vemos un volcán a lo lejos.
Ya está. Wow, está perfecto. Lo que ya tenemos es el encuadre, está listo, perfecto, está enfocado.
Fernando cerró la casa cámara por completo e instaló un lente en la pequeña perforación que enfrenta al volcán.
Y lo que nos faltaría sería colocar la película.
Con mucho cuidado, instala la película fotosensible en un lugar elegido milimétricamente dentro de la casa, detrás del lente.
Ya, vamos con la primera foto. El lente tiene una tapa, yo ahora la voy a sacar. Ahí, 3, 2, 1, 0. Listo, ya. Y ahora estamos dando el tiempo de exposición.
4 años han pasado desde que Fernando empezó su viaje. Ha recorrido el norte de Chile, parte de Perú y ahora va hacia el sur. Dice que después de todo este tiempo ha logrado encontrarle un sentido profundo a su opción de vida.
Profesionalmente tenemos mucha presión. Cualquier profesional, periodista, sonidista, fotógrafo, productor, todo el mundo funcionamos en base a que hay que tener logros, a que hay que tener visibilidad, a que hay que tener un lugar en el arte, a que hay que tener un lugar en los festivales, a que hay que tener un lugar en las publicaciones, a que tenemos que destacar. ¿Cuánta gente te dice, ¿por qué no haces esto? ¿Por qué no haces esto? ¿Por qué? Hay una presión. Hijo, ¿cómo manejas eso en términos de tu mundo? Así, de tu realidad, como lo que tú realmente, si te quitaras toda esa presión de lo que debieras o tienes que ser, ¿con qué te quedas? 4, 3, 2, 1. Ahí está.
That was amazing. Should we all just leave and pack into that RV? All of it? Could we all? That would be terrifying. I feel like that RV is like the antithesis of the iPhone. And I mean that in like the absolute best way possible, in the way that like we have an amazing camera just in our phones right now. He's like, no, I built a car. So wow, that was that's in Peru right now. Oh my God, it's in Chile still? Oh, I thought it was headed down to Peru? Okay. My Spanish is embarrassingly bad. My dad is going to be humiliated. Sorry to my Venezuelan father. Maybe he's watching. He's in the live stream. Actually, the only live stream is my dad. He's like tucked in that camera. I'm sorry, Dad. I will be better. Yikes, that's a separate podcast. I'll apply for the next cycle of the Pod Creator program. Wow, so how are we doing? Just we're giving some time for setup. How are we doing? How are we feeling? We're loving it, yes. I have to say the podcasting audience is the best audience. It's like very polite people who are super engaged and like listen and then like sit and watch. It's like kind of remarkable. So anyway, you are angels, and I am lucky to be here in front of you. So we are ready for our next podcast, our penultimate podcast. I'm about to welcome to the stage Paula Mardot and Patrick Espino, excuse me. So they come from LA, but they've also lived in Manila and the Philippines and Kuala Lumpur and Malaysia, and also such exotic places as the San Francisco Bay Area. So their podcast tackles Filipinos living in the U.S., as far away as the West Coast and as close as here in Boston. Now, this project, this long-distance story, it is a podcast, it is a video series, it's a community. But it all started with Paula's story, and we are going to hear her long-distance story right now. So please give it up for Paula and Patrick.
Sorry, I'm a little short. I'm gonna have to move this down a sec. You're listening to Long Distance. I'm Paula Mardot. Long Distance is a podcast about stories in the Filipino diaspora. I host and produce it along with my fellow producer and our resident voice actor, Patrick Espino. Hey, Patrick.
What's up?
On the show, we ask questions like,
what does it mean to be Filipino outside the homeland? To grow up there and have to leave it? Or what if you've never been there at all?
Thanks, Patrick.
No problem.
We do that a lot on the show. Anyway, part of the reason I ask these questions is because of, well, my long distance story. That's me, age 9, red. Okay, for some context, I was born in Los Angeles, but I spent most of my childhood growing up in Manila, Philippines, and for a few years, my family and I lived in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. We moved back to Manila a few years later, and then when I was 15, my parents told me we're moving to America, to an exotic suburb just east of San Francisco called
San Ramon.
Exactly. And in case you're wondering, those watermarks on the photos are there on purpose.
Shout out stock photos.
Yes, and Patrick and I are not from around here, but for you Boston folks, I would guess that San Ramon is kind of like, I don't know, any suburb here? No, yeah? Okay.
No comment.
All right, anyway, that is me in the black, visiting my friends at school to say my final goodbyes.
Cool uniforms.
They're kind of dorky. This is the last time I see my friends before I hop on a plane to America. I'm nervous, but also pretty excited. Actually, when my dad tells me we're moving, he says I need to do my best to assimilate, make friends with people of all backgrounds, kind of like I did in Malaysia, where I went to international school. But he tells me this in terms of hair color, like so.
Young Paula, you should make friends with people with black hair, brown hair, blonde hair, red hair. Everyone.
Like the United Colors of Benetton. Some people here remember that, right? All right. At the time, I'm like, okay, I can make different hair color friends. I actually grew up watching American movies and TV, so I'm ready. Turns out I wasn't. In real life, high school is awkward and hard, especially when you move to a new high school in a totally different country. In San Ramon, I get called a FOB, F-O-B, fresh off the boat. I feel like I don't fit in because all the cool girls are white girls and they all wear thongs that peek out of their low-rise jeans, trucker hats, and extra thick black eyeliner. I don't. And when I meet my first friend, I panic. She's white, and I worry about how I'll find her the next day because, honestly, all of the white people look exactly the same to me. Moving to a new country is lonely, weird, hard, kind of funny, and I'm not the only person who's done it. Filipinos make up one of the largest diaspora populations in the world, and 10%, or about 10 million of the current Philippine population, live and work abroad as overseas Filipino workers, also called
OFWs,
or Bagong Bayani, meaning
the new heroes
of the Philippine economy. But this did not happen overnight. Filipinos have a long history of coming to America, of leaving the homeland in search of opportunity in a foreign one. And to get to all that, we have to go back in time, to the moment everything changed. Thank you for the Wayne's World time travel sound effects, Patrick.
No problem.
So we're going back to 1521, the Philippines.
Mabuhay.
The Spanish arrived to colonize the Philippines. Boo. Filipinos fight back.
Yeah.
But later, the Spanish Empire rules for over 300 years.
Damn.
1898. The United States takes the Philippines from Spain and occupies the nation.
Seriously?
The U.S. takes over the Philippine school system, among other things, and American teachers teach young Filipinos English, and that America is the most modern, best country in the world. One where they can one day go to college and find better opportunities.
Wow. America.
Young Filipinos aspire to go to America in search of the American dream, like this guy.
I was in intermediate school. They were lecturing in a school to Miss Murphy. She's an Irish girl. And Mrs. Jackson and Miss Huff. And they were lecturing in America, you know. Blah, blah, this, blah, blah. This. My God, must be paradise over there. In my mind, it was someday I'm going to be there. If it takes me my lifetime, I'm going to be there.
That man is part of the first big wave of Filipino immigrants, the Manong generation. Manong means older brother or uncle in the Filipino dialect Ilocano. The Manong generation comes to America in search of opportunity in the 1920s and 1930s. But they arrived during the Great Depression and faced racism, low-paying jobs, poor working conditions. Most can only find work as farm workers in the West Coast or as cannery workers in Alaska. Later, Filipinos arrive as nurses, engineers, teachers, servicemen, caregivers, domestic helpers. And today, there are various generations of Filipinos, just like other immigrant communities. In college, I learned about the 1.5 generation. It's a term that's been used to describe Vietnamese refugees who came to America as teenagers, but also Cuban Americans and Korean Americans. When I learned this, I felt I finally had a vocabulary to describe my experiences as a 1.5 generation Filipino American. The awkwardness, the sadness, the feeling of being in between. Patrick, by the way, is second generation.
You got that right.
But fast forward to the early 2000s. In the early 2000s, I'm a teenager. I don't know any of this stuff, any of this history. They do not teach this in high school. I'm just a Filipino kid living in a small suburb in the San Francisco Bay Area, just trying to belong. I'm awkward and sad until I find my tribe, the drama kids.
Oh, god damn.
And eventually I find my Filipino friends.
That makes sense.
Shout out Bay Area. And when I finally leave that small town for college and later a big city, I find other communities that help me learn about my identity, my community's history, my story as a Filipino American. Spoiler alert, I even make a podcast about it.
Yeah, long distance, longdistanceradio.com. Please subscribe. Thank you very much.
It takes a while, but in time, all of that helps this kid finally feel at home.
Yes, keep it going for long distance. Yes. Dania and Michael, that was amazing. That picture of Brittany and Justin in all denim brought me back. It's like a PTSD for like 2002. Do we have Britney fans in the audience? Yeah. Okay. Yes. Wow. You were a Britney fan then? Okay. Yeah. She was the best. Look at that denim. And then there was the Mean Girls too. We had Mean Girls fans. Yes. Yeah, I don't know. Were you aware when you were in the audience of that movie that you were like, this is going to make an impact forever? Or were you like, this is just a funny movie? I didn't know people would be quoting it for a decade. I don't know. These are my unfiltered thoughts on early aughts nostalgia, and you're welcome. So we are moving on. Excuse me. I just thanked our past guests, but they... with the wrong names. So I hinted at who's coming up. So what we are about to do, we've been all over the world. We've been to so many places, right? We've been to Kenya, we've been to Chile, not Peru, as I learned. But now we are going to travel right back to Bloomfield, New Jersey. Super close. Yes! Okay, Bloomfield is in the house. Everyone came. Who I'm about to bring up to the stage is Dania Ramos and Michael Aquino. And they started Cocotazo Media, which produces the work for independent artists of all varieties. And so the idea that you're about to see happen on this stage here was actually birthed, and I'm getting this right? It was birthed in the proposal for a theater festival many years ago that play never happened, but then they became audio nerds and they turned it into a podcast. And we were so lucky for that, because what we are about to see is a podcast that follows two 12-year-old twins from Newark, New Jersey. Someone just wooed for twins. Two 12-year-old twins from Newark, New Jersey, who travel through time to learn about their Puerto Rican heritage. So please give it up for Time Storm.
Witness, find, remember.
Remember what it felt like to be 12 years old, to be at the brink of adulthood, grappling with friendship, school, and family. At times, it was terrifying, fascinating, daunting. Remember it all. Right now, imagine you are 12, a twin, born and raised in urban New Jersey.
Dinner table rules. Benny!
What? I don't have my phone. It's in my room.
The comic book.
I was about to put it away. No one's even taken a bite yet.
How can you tell if your nose is stuck in one of those stupid comic books?
Better than the boring stuff you read.
Biographies are not boring. Tell him, Ma.
Librarians stay neutral. Pass the seltzer, please.
Whoa, that storm sure is close.
Bueno, I'm just glad you're not scheduled to fly a plane in this.
Can we turn on the air?
You know the rules. No air conditioning after
Labor Day.
When I was growing up in Puerto Rico, we just cranked
open the window.
The Venturas are an everyday American family living in Newark, New Jersey. Mommy's a librarian, Boppy's an airline pilot, and Alexa and Benny are ordinary kids. Until their cousin yanks them into another dimension so they can witness, find, and remember their culture's true history.
Twins, 12 years old.
Kids, the mission isn't a game.
You're right. And it's a mission that you can't meet alone. You need help. Besides, these aren't just any children. They're your family.
Oh, I can't believe you're here! Oh, twins. Benito and Alexa Ventura, tremendous! You can travel in time, and whenever, wherever you arrive on Earth, you'll exist alive as can be. You can help me. Too many moments and people from our culture have been overlooked, lost, forgotten.
The mission isn't about being saviors of a culture.
It's about preserving and raising up what's already there.
You'll need to redefine what it means to save history. Witness. Find. Remember.
Traveling to other centuries to find mysterious artifacts isn't easy. Of course, it's hard enough for Alexa and Benny to find where they fit in their own time. And there's something coming that will affect the Venturas in ways they can't even imagine. A natural disaster that will leave their ancestral homeland changed forever.
It's gaining strength. Might become a hurricane tonight.
Irma a week and a half ago, and now this storm. It's Minerva, right?
Maria.
Hurricane Maria is leaving the west coast of Puerto Rico this evening. The energy grid has failed across the main island, and the storm has destroyed most avenues of communication, both in Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. It is now clear that tomorrow morning, hundreds of thousands of U.S. citizens will awaken to a home they don't recognize.
Like so many stateside Puerto Ricans, the Venturas witness images and hear reports of Hurricane Maria's aftermath, but they're unable to reach their family living on the island. Sorry. After Benny and Alexa witness so much loss in their present, they come to understand how important it is to preserve their culture's past. And they've been given an extraordinary way to do it: time travel. For their first quest, Alexa and Benny travel back in time to San Juan in 1838, where they meet Afro Puerto Rican educator Celestina Cordero.
Maestra Celestina Cordero was born in 1787. At the age of 33, she started a school for girls. But it took 8 appeals to the Council of San Juan before she was accredited as a teacher. After dedicating her entire life to education, Maestra Celestina Cordero died in poverty and obscurity.
In the following clip, Alexa has made it through an entire day in Maestra Cordero's classroom. As Alexa says goodbye to Celestina, she finally solves the riddle behind the mysterious artifact that she and Benny have been sent to retrieve: a plea for equality.
I'm fighting hard for my girls to get an equal education. Just today, I sent Roman with a request for supplies.
A plea for equality?
I intend for it to be published in La Gaceta. Here's hoping it makes its way to print.
In La Gaceta? I should start heading home. It's a bit of a trek.
See you Monday.
I won't be... My mother might need my help around the house in the coming weeks. I'm not sure when I'll be back.
Hasta la próxima. Whenever it may be.
Maestra?
Yes?
Thank you for the warm welcome into your classroom and for everything you're fighting for.
I think you'll do amazing things, Alexandra Ventura. Buena suerte.
Thank you, Maestra. Benny?
I'm so glad to see you. You wouldn't believe what happened today. Me too.
So, is that La Gaceta?
Not quite.
We should probably...
Can we find somewhere to...
Yeah.
Timestorm represents Puerto Rican culture and identity, not only in content, but behind the scenes as well. The series is written, produced, and voiced by Latinx artists. I'm Dania Ramos, the series creator, and this is Michael Aquino, and he is the audio engineer and composer of our theme song.
Witness. Find. Remember.
The hidden past seeks its dawn, telling us that we all belong. Horacio, Alexa, and Benny, take back time, find history in the time
Witness. Find. Remember.
Somos Timestorm.
We are Timestorm.
Thank you so much. Please give it up for Dania and Michael. Also, excuse my name confusion at the end. That was Paula and Patrick with Long Distance. But now let us please welcome all of the amazing podcasting teams back up one more time. Afro Queer. Yes, Afro Queer. We have Colored Girl Beautiful. We have Who Taught You How to Drive. And of course, the team behind Las Raras. Paula and Patrick with Long Distance. And of course, Dania and Michael with Timestorm. Keep it going for this amazing team. Also, please, a huge, huge, huge round of applause for the entire PRX staff who work so closely with this amazing, amazing group of people. They gave 20 weeks, right? 20 weeks to working closely on these podcasts. Thank you to Google. Thank you, Zach and your team, for making this possible. Thank you to everyone who watched on the live stream. Thank you, WBUR, for this amazing space. Thank you, Stephanie Quo, for the audio and visuals back there. And a huge, huge, huge thank you to all of the creators. No, that hurt very badly. Thank you to all of the creators. They did an amazing job. A ton of work went into this. Remember, these are all available to you. Like, subscribe, comment, review. Find them on the internet. They are wonderful. This is the future of podcasting. Thank you so much. I'm Dylan Marin. Have a great night.